I am the Manu, Vaivasvata, and I am most grateful for your attentiveness to my flame. For in stretching forth the fingers of your mind, the light of your own heart shows that your willingness to engage in the understanding of your true self. As you come closer and closer to the reality of the truth of being, you begin to realize that you have the canopy of light of your own God presence, just waiting to descend into your outer vehicles at any given moment. You need not wonder, where is God? How is God? Who is God? But you know God, for you know the divine self. Most assuredly, to realize this, there must be the appointed striving in each vehicle of consciousness, where they are knitted together in the thread of contact with your own God presence and the heart flame that issues forth the true identity that establishes where you are, who you are, how you will be. What are those aspects of life that you will fulfill? Contrary to most of humanity, that thinks that they must somehow apply to the face of God their image, their identity, their activity, when all the while there is the inner struggle with that human creation, with the hand of God. For God has sent forth the edict to the very flame of the heart that is closest in proximity to each of those vehicles of consciousness. How that one is to be, what the vibration is to establish, what are the creative endeavors that will be brought forth. When each root race came forth in the beginning of their first incarnation, there was such purity of consciousness. There was the divine aspect of the glory of God upon them. They did not fear. They did not worry or have doubt. They did not have negativity as the first blush of reaction to approaching something new. But there was the openness of heart and the streaming forth of light that allowed their consciousness to knit together by the fabric of life prepared for them in the earth, those things of the elements that they were to learn how to work with, how to create, how to fashion and form into a way of life that would ultimately gain mastery and attainment over time, space, and this life as it is lived upon the earth. I need not rehearse for you in this hour how there was the fall of mankind, for that story is known too well. I need not parade before your consciousness the ills of the world at present, and what must change. What many of the sons and daughters, and as I say many, the majority, have lost sight is what is the divine aspect of one's self. For surely, if you do not know what is the goal, how can you be sure that you will strive toward that goal that is divinely intended? If you do not have the patterns of the fabric of life that is true reality, just and in order for your life stream and for all of life to flourish and expand the flame of God upon the earth, then how will you know what to pursue, how to be, what to put your attention, and most importantly, the energy of your own God presence into? It is the role of the Manus to hold that archetypal pattern of divinity that you are to outpicture in the divine estate, that you, as a specific root race, with those you have come to earth with, can contribute to the raising of consciousness, to the bettering of a way of life that is conducive to the hand of God, being able to interject into the framework of life what is that will of God, what is that wisdom of God, that love of God, that abundance of God that would otherwise prevail if only the sons and daughters of God would remember their high and holy calling that they experienced with that first incarnation. The records are many within each life stream of the pitfalls, the rebellions, the negativity, as well as, more importantly, the victories, the establishing of what is the vibration that would elevate one's consciousness into revealing in their life the presence of God. Many times those events are few and far between, so much so that the individual in their outer consciousness forgets, loses track of the victories, for all about them what they see does not report back a signal or sign that would draw their consciousness to remember to bring to the fore once more that glorious high ideal that was born out of purity and the divine estate of God. So when we come to revivify the record in the consciousness of mankind of that initial blueprint and divine estate that is truly theirs and theirs alone, to outpicture it is hoped that there will be sufficient numbers to warrant the dispensations required for such an event. Certainly this is the case for this cycle. You have already heard from Himalaya, the Manu of the fourth race. I, Vaivasvata Manu, am holding the pattern of God identity that the fifth root race is to bring to the fore. Understanding this, blessed ones, you might cast about with your mind and wonder, are you a part of that fifth root race, the fourth, the sixth? You have come to know that the first three root races have already won their victory and returned into the glory of their mighty I Am presence. So you can see, blessed hearts, it is not impossible, for the record has been established. So what has gone on before as an established record is truly available to you. Else we would not be in your presence. Drawing forth into your consciousness the record of the truth of your identity allows you to begin to fashion your house and put it in order. You do not need to throw over the traces of all that you have come to know that you are. But yes, some of who you think you are is not the reality of being. How do you part with that which you have become so familiar to? After all, how will you even know what is true and right with God? And what are the fallacies that you have bought into as the lie and the serpentine consciousness that is prevalent in the land? You know, blessed hearts, when you weigh a record and vibration in your own life with that of the ascended and cosmic beings that address you through the discourses and dictations from this altar, you understand it by coming closer and closer to your own God presence. All the while you do not leave the touchstone of reality that is presented to you by these cosmic beings, so that you will not commingle your own human consciousness with what you think is the mind of God, flushing out the old habits and vibrations of unreality by the violet flame and by the purity of the light of God, will layer by layer strip out of your consciousness all that does not belong there, that has confounded and confused you nigh these many incarnations, and prepare you for the next step, the next God realization. And when you hear an ascended or cosmic being speak of a particular truth of cosmic law, and it resonates from your head to your toes, and through, you know, without doubt or questioning, with your human mind, that it is true. It has struck a chord from your own heart that resonates. The record, the putting into the refiner's fire of that record, and the truth is revealed to the heart once more. Tears of joy may follow, great exaltation that would almost make the outer vehicle swoon. For the presence of God has been revealed to you, and only because your heart, that heart that is the heart flame of the mighty I Am Presence, in each plane of consciousness, has been intoned with the like vibration of truth, of love, peace, joy, all of the God virtues and qualities that are inherent naturally within the fabric of God life, that your presence streams forth to you daily, hourly, moment by moment. And when you have that internalization of the light of God that reveals once more to you the truth of your identity, no longer do you gravitate to those old habits, old ways, merely because they are old does not make them good. It only means they have a deeper record that must be transmuted and purified. There are those in embodiment that are part of the fifth root race. Not as many as the sixth, but certainly a great portion of those who came at my command are still embroiled in their incarnations. You blessed hearts that are attentive to my flame and my instruction have come in answer to the call, not only of the ascended and cosmic beings that sent forth the beacon of light to magnetize your heart flame, but your own God presence has brought you to this moment in time and space to receive this instruction. For there are elements within your consciousness, your momentums and habits that require the understanding of cosmic law, so that you can be about fulfilling all that you are to accomplish. is your vibration, one that is ready at a moment's notice to receive the holy angels, to receive an ascended master, to have the visitation of your own God presence upon your lower vehicles, within your mind, within your heart. Reveal to you precious truths for your own life stream. If not, now that you know that you must be prepared, what is it that you will practice? What is it that you will allow in your life to make yourself ready? Certainly you have come to know that what you put into practice is like a boomerang that goes out, eventually comes back to you, and you must stand by your actions. If they were wrong, negative, skewed in any manner, you will be required to either balance that karma physically, or if you are wise, you will invoke the violet flame. And what of your energy? Perhaps you think, well, that energy was there, but I did not act upon it. Blessed hearts, within the energy is the beginning to the end of the action. Merely because you did not carry through with the action does not leave you stainless. That energy still went forth and affected some part of life that you are likewise with the action required to balance. What of your words? Certainly this body of students of the light understand how important are words. They carry with them either the truth or unreality. But tell me, is it a just use of the word? Even if it is true to tear another down, stripping them of all their dignity, and parading before their ears their gaze, their fallacies and misgivings? That is not a wise use of the truth. When recognizing areas of life that, yes, are true, are not born out of the God identity that are inherent within the heart, you may always speak to the Christ presence. You may always hold the vision of their Christhood for them, and you may address that Christhood always with the respect and honor that is required. You do not and should not gravitate to dealing with the human creation. If you are right with your own God presence, and you have the storehouse of light and the charge of God consciousness within you from your devotions, you will already be prepared with sufficient light to let the love of your own mighty I Am presence stream forth through you, to catch that one up in that love, and that love will be the consolation and comfort, the healing, the staying of their own negativity before entering into your force field. Wonder of wonders, if there was a confrontation that the other desired to have, they would walk away wondering, that person must be a saint. For I felt the love of their heart, even though I sent hatred. That is only one of hundreds of thousands of examples of what the sons and daughters of God are to witness to the presence of God in their own life. You blessed hearts have received much training. The presence of God is upon you even in this hour, as I, the Manu of the fifth root race, stand in your presence. However, there are still those that wonder if they surely warrant or deserve the hand of God coming so close. Are they worthy of the mighty I Am presence? What of these transgressions that come swiftly into the mind and well up in the emotional body? Surely they do not make that one worthy of the hand of God, or even the heart of God caring or loving. Blessed hearts, when did God stop loving? When did God stop caring? The allness of God within the great I Am that streams forth into your own God presence as the I Am of the individuality of your being, knows intrinsically, firsthand, what is the love of God? What is the nature of God's caring? For after all, God has prepared a banquet before you, as light, as a world of opportunity. The Elohim have created the mountains, the lakes, the vastness of the landscapes, the glorious air, the fire element, all that there might be a service to the sons and daughters of God, that you might appreciate how these vehicles that you wear are born of those elements, and learn how to work with those elements so that you can master each one. And in doing so, not lose yourself into the fabric of one or more of these elements, but all the while holding to the God identity and the thread of contact with your own God presence, understanding that it is the source of the God presence that has brought you to that moment, that has prepared for you what you have received. So what will you do with it? Will you cast it aside as though it is not the right time or cycle? It might interfere with this or that going on in your life. Will you tell God that it simply doesn't feel right in your feeling body? Well, have you thought that perhaps your feeling body is not charged sufficiently with the light of God to know what is true within that feeling body? For the emotions can be mighty fickle if they are not charged by the master of your house of God identity. The reason that you have been drawn in this era to the light of God is so that your body temple can revel in the presence of God. And as you know that God intimately, firsthand, you have something to give back, to convey, to share, to create with. And as your momentum is accelerated in right thinking, right action, right vibration, you discover that your presence works all manner of deeds through these outer vehicles that you did not think you were capable. Returning to that Edenic blueprint and pattern that you brought to earth to build upon as a consciousness that would not only accelerate the God consciousness within these elemental forces of nature that are present all about, but those who had come before that were lagging back in the acceleration that their presence had desired and that the ascended and cosmic beings had expected, would benefit from a new life wave coming to the earth and sending forth the charge that they would initiate, and thus catching up that previous root race into the fold and being the leader, the example, the force field of light that would magnetize those to surrender once more, completely and wholly, into their own God presence and turn their life back to what it once was long, long ago. Understanding there are many things that are strewn about the earth as a mental gymnastics of how one may return back to the heart of God or better their life or manipulate their life. But keep in mind, blessed ones, there is only one true reality of self. That is within the mighty I Am Presence. And all things that come and go to and fro throughout a given lifetime may, and some should, have bearing on your actions, your deeds, and way of life. But you must come to the realization at some point along the way that if it does not resonate through and through within the depths of your heart, then you must go back to the beginning, invoking the violet flame, establishing more of a regularity in your life of devotion to God. Bring the storehouse of the light and the charge of God power back into your life, so that you once more are experiencing the wholeness that is only present when you are living the divine self. Many of you have already learned how each of the vehicles of consciousness, from the mighty I Am Presence to the physical, most dense body, all have their purposes. And as they are knitted together in the one heart of the mighty I Am Presence, and the thread of contact is not interfered with in any of the vehicles, and that alignment is sure and intact, there is nothing that you cannot accomplish if it is the will of your mighty I Am Presence. There is nothing that you must apologize for. There are no doubts or fears, no human questioning. There are no lacks that are presented in your life that are not ultimately filled with the light of God. The doors are opened, the pathway is sure, and as you more and more realize that it is not these outer vehicles that are the doer, it is the mighty I Am Presence that is the doer through the outer vehicles, and you must learn how to open the conduit of fire, to have revivified those bodies that are to respond to the mind of God, and to send forth that which your presence desires at any moment of any day. As a Manu, I am most aware that that seems like a daunting challenge to you, at least some, in this hour. And you wonder how could you possibly reach that attainment and mastery. Begins by a state of mind where you recognize there is truth within your own heart, and what I have spoken resonates within that heart, and your mind says, okay, I will try, I will strive, I will put my shoulder to the wheel and test the law that the Manu has spoken of. You will not be disappointed. Putting into practice all that you will learn here will bring the desired results. But you must truly desire it. There must be a surrendering to the heart of God if you are to make room in your life for what your presence desires. Throughout the ages, many of you have been in embodiment a long time and had fruitful embodiments. You have had many victories. When you look back, even upon this current lifetime, do you suppose that you should put your attention upon the negativity or the victories? The answer may be self-evident, but you would be amazed to know how many are predisposed to look at the negativity, the shortcomings, the failures. Blessed hearts, as long as you are engaging in that form of self-mutilization, the body of God will not be fashioned where you are. The house that you are to prepare for the presence to embody will be disfigured. Eventually it will be crumbled away, returning back to dust, and the heart flame will return to the octaves of light and prepare for another incarnation. Why wait for another embodiment, or one following that, or 3 or 4 more? When you are capable, regardless of your history, regardless of your vibration at present, to turn your life around in this instant and put on the garments of your mighty I Am presence as they are initiated by the hand of your presence, in the timetable and cycle of your presence, desiring. But it requires that you make the election, that you make the decision in the mind, in your emotional body, in your actions. For these bodies have relevance as to the mark that you will make in a given lifetime. They cannot be ignored. They are part of the mastery that you have come to achieve. This is not an exercise in escapism. It is an exercise in drawing forth the light of God into each of the vehicles of consciousness, so that you might be more of who you were intended to be. I have stayed longer than I had anticipated, for I most assuredly know that when the Manu is in this close rapport with the outer vehicles of most of the sons and daughters of God, even those prepared for our coming, it creates a great chemicalization in their life. some of which draws to the surface those unrealities in their world that must go into the flame. So during this cycle of the coming of the Manus, you are charged with giving sufficient violet flame so that you might have the transmutation of all that may come up in your life. For if you were to consider a father-like or mother-like guardian of your life stream, that is the relationship of the Manu and their divine complement with your life stream. The tie is very intense when you begin to clear away the debris of unreality and negativity that may still reside within the folds of your garments. You will discover that pressure of light, oftentimes almost taking your breath away, until you adjust to it. As there is the streaming forth of our consciousness that comes back to remind you of your high and holy calling and why you petitioned the Manu in the beginning to come forth out of the realms of the great central sun. Let your heart rejoice in knowing that you have the closeness of God always available to you. And understand that we, the Manus, will continue to hold the divine pattern of your identity for you, even should you find it difficult for yourself at times. It is never lost. It can always be regained and rediscovered, for we are sending forth that pattern into your life, streaming forth your own God presence daily is activating that record over the crystal cord, emanating that keynote identity of the true divine self that you are to be in these outer vehicles, so that you will not lose your way ever again, but will remain tethered to the heart of God. Let the ancient records of your truth, of identity in purity, remain always as the overriding conscious awareness that God is ever present in your life, ever has been, and ever will be. I seal you in the ray of Manu, so that you will have the record of this visitation always there to draw upon when you need to be reminded.